Fast forward, you come out watch on so a GH politics urban podcast stories are a trending because making headlines and a gym need to be exum a while need him need a home Brazil must end a lady kanya onya Mr. Sil be subscribe to the channel. It's a notification bell share now for front so insert into me can be but say over can abusian kono a no leave a comment constructively under the comment section. Now Mr. Wa Yamun Ryan Sim NPP Americono Amnesty etimi agrante ana ompese omo grante edema eye oma omafum amayeko na omo suspend omo se omo kono omo ko transfer no ene wa bi ne pron ato se obetimi aba na ombetimi ama pardon because ensema Afoko se bi so se bi anya do omo epo mudodo na enye ye ne atiasefo na yura eye for Afoko meno kasei papai ono so yi ne to ase akunya ya enye asemboto akra meno kasei NPP for hwese po Afoko ono so obetimi akọ party asoeye na ono so de ne krata ebekose empaniampa momfa mefonso ne ade amaye ensem fata emfa encheme na we na Solomon Solomon of Movement for Change Solomon Cancer Honorable Solomon Cancer of Movement for Change and so edna no atom bia ono asema okanyina ne se NPP Amnesty say ompese grant no hypocritical and deceptive yamumra papa na so yeko and dieba. But that's why I'm
now to the camp of the opposition, the NPP, the main opposition party, the New Patriotic Party. It has granted amnesty to all its members who are suspended as well as those whose disciplinary cases are pending. This is contained in a press release dated August 16, 2025 and signed by the acting national chairman, Dankwa Smith Bute. According to the statement, the National Council took the decision at its emergency meeting held on Friday, July 25 this year. The statement added that the move is in the interest of unity and reconciliation. The directive, according to the statement, lifts all suspensions and waives any ongoing proceedings against affected members. Now, members who have forfeited their membership have been asked to submit a formal application to the National Secretariat for reinstatement.
Meanwhile, spokesperson for the Movement for Change, Solomon Owusu, says the decision by the main opposition New Patriotic Party is insincere. He spoke earlier on Weekend Central.
Yes, it's supposed to apply to me, but I don't see what the New Patriotic Party is doing to ask it to bring members back. I mean, this is one of the most insincere releases that I have ever witnessed in recent times. If I would be allowed, let me give you a background as to why they hurriedly had to organize this press release on the 16th of August 2025. I mean, Mr. Lantomante had done an interview which was to be aired on Saturday. And in that interview, we started sharing some of the essence of it. So the party got wind of the fact that there was a question that contained the future political aspiration of Mr. Lantomante. So through the NPP's own ingenuity, they got through the back door, they got to know that Mr. Lantomante had declared that he would take part in election 2028 using a different vehicle. And so what did the party decide to do? Quickly put up a message just to sway the minds of the teeming support base of Mr. Lantomante to ask it to go back to the New Patriotic Party. That is all to it. It is not genuine. It is not sincere. If you read the second stanza or the second paragraph of their own letter, if it is from you, you would realize that they claim an emergency meeting was held on the 25th of July, 2025. Is that not the case? Emergency meetings are conducted to discuss emergency matters. And when those emergency matters are discussed and decisions are taken, it is immediately released. How on earth would you go and take organize an emergency meeting on the 25th of July 2025 and wait 23 days after that before you release the outcome of that meeting. It tells you how insincere they are, and that it was only because of the interview that was granted by Mr. Alantamante on Pana Genos TV that he declared boldly that he will be taking part in election 2028, and that is why they have come out with this release. Again, if you read the release carefully, all that they are saying is that Alan Tremantin and his members must return back to the NPP, but should only come and be partakers.
Well, let's have a conversation on the back of this and speak with Dr. Jonathan Asante-Ocho. He's a political analyst. Doc, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, since the news break, a lot of conversations, interesting ones, have been happening, and people are picking different signals. There's a group of people that believe that this amnesty signals desperation. There are those who think that it is a strategic foresight on the part of the NPP. From where you sit, how do you see this?
Well, thank you, Cosby. Let me say good evening to your viewers and to your good self. I think that when you err along the line, certainly you want to make certain amends. The point is that the NPP is at a crossroads, and of course they will want to correct all the errors they might have committed along the line. And that obviously includes the lives of Afoko and so on and so forth. And so to, as it were, decide that you want to grant such an amnesty, I think that it is in order. But the same amnesty, there is a clause, there is a clause or a caveat, so to speak. And so such a caveat in itself creates a certain kind of doubt whether it is really an entire amnesty, because it is not everybody who might have wronged the party. Some might have wronged certain individuals that might have taking the issue to the disciplinary committees and so on and so forth. And so, if you want to grant an amnesty, I think that there shouldn't have been any caveat. And the other thing too is that you are supposed to fill a form. Now, that form is supposed to take you through the process of reinstatement. And when you get reinstated, you do not qualify to contest for any position within the party, for the next 2 years. And obviously that would mean that it will take you out of anything or any activity as far as the 2028 elections and other executive positions are concerned.
Right.
So that in itself will take you to about 2032, right? Or 2030 when they might have done other internal, elections. And so I think that it is a good gesture. But the caveat there in itself would be some kind of disincentive for others who may willingly have decided to join or rejoin.
Now, Doc, to what extent does this move reflect a failure of the party's disciplinary structures, and what precedent does it set for future misconduct?
Well, whichever way you look at it, I think that to a large extent it will serve the party's interests. To some extent, it may not. And so it may not be a fair accompli kind of decision on the part of the party. Of course, we use human beings to build a political party, and you need the numbers on your side. There is some level of desperation on the part of the party, as it were, to ensure that they bring everybody on board. That in itself is good. But if the desperation in itself, echoes some kind of insincerity, they may not get the desired result that they are looking forward to. Apart from that, the current leadership in itself is some kind of disincentive, behind the current leadership. And so there are others who may decide that, well, they are enjoying their peace, all the bras surrounding the party, the current leadership that have demonstrated some kind of disrespect to some who have been founding fathers of the party, like the Deputy General Secretary, speaking anyhow to Dr. Nyahunya Otaboko, to the point that, he has been excommunicated, he's no longer a member of the party, he's no longer even a founder.
Right.
Such gross disrespect in itself may not inure to the benefit of the party. And I think that what what the statesman Kwame Pilim said last week about is something that they may have to take on board. And all of these things that they are doing, I think, is in order. They may have to demonstrate that kind of sincerity and readiness to bring everybody on board without unnecessary caveats that may put impediment in the way of others.
Dr. It brings me to this question about the possible implications. Now, could lifting the suspensions simply re-empower disgruntled factions and fuel further internal power struggles? Is that a possibility?
Well, to a larger extent, it will solve some of these problems, but they still have that internal contest, ahead of them. That in itself could be the make or break, of the party. So it is a good gesture, probably because Mr. Kennedy Japan said something to that effect. Maybe they've taken that issue on board. That is good. But let us see how it goes in terms of implementation and how time, will create a situation where they will be able to solve all their internal problems.
And finally from me, Doc, and briefly, how might voters interpret this mass reinstatement, particularly those who may have abandoned the NPP due to perceived arrogance, corruption, or internal disunity?
Can you come again? I didn't
So
get
what I'm asking is, how might voters interpret this mass reinstatement for those who left the party due to what they call as arrogance, corruption, or internal disunity?
Well, obviously, if I got your question rightly, these things are major problems hanging around, the previous government in terms of the party. You could see that those who have gone out of the party, like Movement for Change, for example, I don't see them returning to the fold of the NPP. Because whether this gesture is a sincere one or not, only time will tell. But definitely the corruption, the arrogance of power, the pride, the suspect and other things, they may have to display, some kind of sincerity in the public domain with respect to some of these negatives that have affected, the current leadership
Right.
and those who are in government. Other than that, the party will no longer be attractive to the youth and others who have left the party.
Dr. Oshiri, thank you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere is a political analyst sharing his thoughts with us there.
Moving on, as Ghana and families of the 8 helicopter crash victims continue to mourn the loss of loved ones and investigations progress, calls have intensified for transparency and improved disaster preparedness. There are also growing calls for the government to equip the military and for the depoliticization of critical defense spending. There's more in the following report.
With all 8 victims of the helicopter crash now buried, questions are being asked about what happened. Ghanaians await the final report of the investigations into what may have caused the tragic accident. Former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Emmanuel Bombande, speaking on the key points, noted that the public must be educated on the role of security agencies during rescue missions.
How is it possible that civilians can go into that forest and be carrying plastic or metal pieces of a crash plane and standing and videoing themselves? How are we informing ourselves as a people about the respect that must come along, how we deal with these matters? Somebody has to do that, and maybe for the lack of the complete information, it has to be our Commission for Civic Education. How do civilians interact with military, vice versa, particularly when it comes to a tragedy such as this?
Aeronautics expert and aircraft accident investigator Professor Kwesi Ejikum raised concerns about residents taking parts of the wreckage from the recent military helicopter crash site.
In the ideal world, we want the crash site to be secured. We don't want folks to tamper with. And one of the key information we want to send out to the public is that an aircraft crash site is hazardous. We will still appeal to those who have taken part that hey, we want you to bring it back, so that we get everything back. And then if we have to do a physical reconstruction of the helicopter in the hangar, we have most of the components.
Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bento, said that the growth of the aviation sector, more aircraft accidents are likely to occur. He added that the security agencies, especially the Army, have standard operation procedures they follow during rescue operations, as was seen in the recent crash.
It is because whenever you have a situation of inadequate resources, which is always the situation, where you have a situation like ours, which is even more crucial, more acute, your protocols, your policies, your a priori systems thought through that if this happens, this is what will happen, is what helps you to maximize resource use and to get the best outcomes out of circumstances like this. So indeed, that's very important.
Security expert Colonel Festus Abuaje dismissed claims that the military helicopter exploded mid-air. He commended state institutions for their professional handling of the situation.
The plane had left Takoradi. We know that it left Takoradi on 2nd August on a medivac, not that it flew empty. It brought a patient to Accra. But because there was a mission, a VIP mission on the 6th, all three of them who had come with a plane from Takoradi stayed in Accra. This would suggest that the plane, as of the 2nd, was airworthy. This idea that some people are, pejorative, whatever it is, in the media spaces, though the plane had a hazard and so on, it's not very likely. At least not during the 27 minutes.
CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, said that the government must procure more helicopters for the military and advised that this conversation should not be politicized.
Going forward with the implementation of policies that would ensure that these things, even when they occur, we are able to better manage them. There will be the need for more helicopters, modern helicopters to be procured. Those old ones that will have to be retrofitted or repaired, we would have to spend resources in doing them. And I'm saying that when we get there, we should be careful that we don't subject them to partisan discourse. Otherwise, then it's like democracy is not able to protect itself.
Now, funeral rites for the helicopter crash victims have been climaxed with a Thanksgiving service at the Christ the King Church amidst high-powered government attendance. My colleague Stanley Nibleu, he attended the mass and reports.
Following the burial ceremony of the 8 individuals who perished in the helicopter crash, families, friends and government officials converged on the Christ the King Church to offer thanks in honor of the late Defense Minister, Dr. Edward Omanibuama, and Wing Commander Peter Anala. The bereaved families also expressed gratitude to the state for arranging a befitting burial for their departed loved ones. The President, John Dramani Mahama, the First Lady, Lordina Mahama, Vice President, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah and his deputy were among the dignitaries who joined the parish for the mass. Other dignitaries who attended the service included Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandect Esiama, Foreign Minister, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Akando, and Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Kofi Amaboa.
All glory and honor is yours forever and ever.
The mass was led by the parish priest, Reverend Father Dr. Ebenezer Akese. In his sermon, the priest underscored death as an ordeal that weighs heavily on bereaved families, but stressed that there is hope for the departed, who will be resurrected when Christ returns. He also reflected on sin, stressing that the company one keeps could either lessen or aggravate it, urging the faithful to live chaste and fulfilling lives at all times.
Sometimes, the sufferings that we go through are not because we do something wrong. It is only because we are pursuing the cause of right. And those who are not on the side of right will oppose us. have the strength to do that which we know is right, even if it is unpopular.
He further prayed and invoked blessings on the families of Dr. Edward Omanibuama and Wing Commander Peter Anala. After the service, President John Dramani Mahama briefly...
Ntiwe and some who team course or Chani so, Mamon now as a soldier, or had a sense of bad in their Dumbi Adomania, Ebesan issue.